Because it's you. You hold me. Listen to you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Listen to you. You hold me close. Sing it again. Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. You know my heart better than any other. You love me more than any lover. You hold me close. You won't let go. In your arms I am home. Because it's you. You hold me. Because it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. You hold my heart better than any other. You love me more than any lover. You hold me close. You won't let go. And in your arms I am home. Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Because it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. You won't let go. 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 Because it's you. You hold me. Yes, it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. You hold me. Because it's you. You hold me close. Because it's you. Come on. You hold me. it's in you. You hold me close. You won't let go. 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 Because it's in you. You hold me. Yes, it's in you. You hold me close. Yes, it's in you. You hold me. Yes, it's in you. You hold me close. Jesus, you're worthy. If everybody could just close their eyes in the room for just a second. We're going to sing just a small part of a new song that's just kind of been on our hearts for a minute. And I don't even know if the words are up there right now because we didn't even tell her. But what I know is that when we can close our eyes and focus in on the presence of God, what happens is it's not about the words that come out of our mouths, but the words that come out of our heart. And when our hearts begin to overwhelm Him with our love and the essence and the fragrance of worship, something begins to change. And so as we sing this and as we get going, I'm going to ask that you would just allow it to begin to settle in your heart and really think about what's being said from the essence and the presence of your heart. And when you begin to get the heart in order with what it says, then your mouth will begin to get in order with what's going on in there. Amen. If this is a glimpse of heaven, I could get used to this, and I could get used to this. And the fragrance of your presence, and I could get used to this, and I could get used to this. If this is a glimpse of heaven, and I could get used to this, and I could get used to this, the fragrance of your presence, and I could get used to this, and I could get used to this. If this is a glimpse of heaven, and I could get used to this, and I could get used to this. Come on, worship. And the fragrance of your presence, and I could get used to this, and I could get used to this. If this is a glimpse of heaven, and I could get used to this, and I could get used to this, and the fragrance of your presence, I could get used to this, and I could get used to this, and you can have my heart. You can have my heart. And you can have my heart.
can get used to this. The fragrance of your presence. I can get used to this. I can get used to this.
Just say, I could.
And I can get used to this. And I can get used to this. And I can get used to this. Oh yes. And I can get used to this. 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 And I can get used to this.
Come on.
And I can get used to this.
I could, yeah.
I can get used to this.
Oh,
I can get used to this.
oh,
I can get used to this.
I could, yeah.
And I can get used to this. 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 You can have my heart. And oh, you can have my heart. You can have my heart.
Give it all away.
It's all yours, Jesus. Today, God. We say today, God, you can have our hearts. Every piece, every little bit, every moment is yours. It's all you. There's nothing else but you, Jesus. And we choose to focus on you today and separate ourselves, God, for a time, God, that only you and I matter, Jesus. And we take it in. 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 Do me a favor in this room. Just can you take a deep breath in? And then let it out. Do it again. Just take another deep breath in. Do you realize that every time you take that deep breath in, you're breathing in the love of God? The presence of who He is. And there's nothing better than that. So when you're in a moment and you know all you need is Jesus, guess what you have to do? Just stop and take a deep breath. Because all you need is the air of who He is to fill your lungs. Because when you breathe Him out, you breathe Him in, you breathe Him out, it's His presence. He's what gave you life. So as we stop today and we just take a moment and we breathe Him in, and we let Him know that Jesus said, this is your presence. This is where I want to stay in it and with you always. Just focus on Him this morning. And as we get ready to get into the Word and we go on in, I continue to ask you to breathe in His presence. And all the things and the cares and the worries, when you take that deep breath and you exhale, let it just release itself from you. And let it begin to just know that God is filling you with the presence of joy and peace and hope. And all the worry and the fear and the trials and the things that you've been facing can be released today. It's just that simple. If He can give us life by breathing into us, He can surely give us hope and peace and grace and joy and contentment. So God, we're thankful for you today. We're thankful for the breath that you've given us in our lungs, but mostly it's your presence. God, that we wouldn't take for granted that, God, and maybe when we take deep breaths that we would be reminded that it's from you. You're the one who gave us that. And we honor you in every bit of who we are today. We thank you and we praise you in your name. Amen and amen. You may be seated this morning. Jesus, you're worthy. You're worthy. It's just good to be able to focus on His presence, isn't it? Just to be able to separate yourself for a minute and focus on Him. And as we were worshiping this morning, and Pastor Brennan kind of played that as we got into worship afterwards, and God just began to just kind of settle on us. And today as we sang it with you, no, we did not write that song. I wish, but we did not. But God wants to settle in His presence. It's a sweetness that He wants to give in the midst of everything.
It's so true, because I love the way that part says, if this is a glimpse of heaven, I can get used to this. The fragrance of your presence, I can get used to this. That sounds good in this setting, okay? It's real good in this setting. Sing that in your worst moment. Sing that when it's bad. Sing it when it doesn't make sense. When all hell breaks loose around you, when bills are adding up and And you got to dig deep into your core to who God is. Sing it when you don't feel like it in your flesh. If this is a glimpse of heaven, I can get used to this. When you have to put aside the flesh and the things that you see physically, that's not a glimpse of heaven. I don't want to get used to that. But when you can throw it all to the side and get in the eye of the storm, and the God who is able to do it, you find the glimpse through the eye. That's where you need to sing from. We the other day in the youth, I want to read this to you real quick, and we'll get going in this. We do this, been doing this leaders kind of talk, and I said one of the leaders' goals is this: sing when you hardly feel like it. Pray when you're all prayed out. Smile when the storm is raging. Praise before the answer comes. That's the leader's goal. To be a good leader, to be a solid leader, you dig from the core when everything else is falling apart around you. You sing when you hardly feel like it. You pray when you're all prayed out. You smile when the storm is raging. You praise if there's not even an answer, because it hadn't came yet. So when you sing in those moments and you have it outside of just church, dig deep. Dig deep. And how do you do that? That's staying in the Word. That's staying in fellowship with who God is. That's where that well digs deep. And just lift Him up. In the middle of it all, I can get used to this. The fragrance of your presence, God, I can get used to that. Can you smell who He is when the doctor's report doesn't look right? Can you sense Him when everything don't add up right? I can get used to this. And that's where you find your strength. That's where you find your strength. God is faithful. He's good. We're thankful. Keep our family in your prayers. We lost our grandfather Wednesday, and it's been tough. It's kind of our big first loss, I guess you would say. And so, kind of one of the pillars of the family. Love Jesus, love His family. But keep us in your prayers and thoughts. We're gonna, that's what family does. We just ride together, and we'll get through it. And so, I think what God does is He turns it for His glory, and you find peace in the process of it. And so, just when you're just out and about, Tuesday and Wednesday, or even today, tomorrow, just lift our family up in prayer. And we greatly, greatly appreciate that. So, we've been in this, we declare war. We make a bold statement. We do it pretty big. Then you got to start living it out. And what happens when you declare war and something happens? What happens when you declare war, in the midst of war, you're wounded? What happens when those kind of moments take place? I mean, it's the same thing as like the whole thing about reality and what we expect, right? We'll just break it down a little simpler. How about that? Before we dig into this.
Well, I was thinking of like simple things like, have you ever been through drive-through and you order something and you get to the window and what you expected to get wasn't what you had in reality in your hand?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's really not that hard.
I think maybe 2 people have had that happen.
Only 2 people. I have it happen all the time. I mean, it's like a
Like, how do you eat a salad without a fork? You know, like, why can't you just put the fork in there? Like, I had a drink, but where'd my straw go?
Yeah, who wants to go down the road like this? Nobody wants to do that. That's really difficult to do that like that. It doesn't work. Or, like you order, you want extra.
You don't have to get deep in the
chicken,
story, but
things like that.
yours is almost one of the best ones. Because you can't have cheese because you're allergic to dairy. And you only wanted so many things on this burger.
Yeah.
And then what did you end up getting?
I just went to McDonald's and asked for a quarter pounder with no cheese.
With all the good stuff.
That's it. I just said no cheese.
Lettuce, tomato.
I didn't say just a burger. I just said no cheese. And I'm driving down the road, and I open my quarter pounder box, and there is a bun and a patty. That is it.
No cheese.
I mean, I guess at least they possibly got the quarter pound right.
I'm glad they got the meat right, because what if they just gave you the bread with the vegetables?
And the worst part about it is I was so far down the road, I had to eat it. And every time I took a bite, I think the more mad I got. My sandwich was messed up.
Has anybody had a mess up meal? Look, are we in the same room? Okay, good.
Okay, what about, anybody ever ordered from Wish?
Oh,
Or places like that, and what you got, what you expected to receive, was not what you got,
Yeah.
right? Like
you wanted this
I
big
ordered-
dollhouse and it's...
I ordered my niece for Christmas one time. This was the one time I used it. I had a couple people, oh, try it out. And I'm like, okay.
Wish.com, great deals.
So I ordered my niece the littlest pet shop, little toys.
Yes.
She loves miniature little things.
Waste of money, yes.
And she loves them, it's what it is, and she does play with them all the time.
Yeah.
But I had ordered her a set of like 15 of them, right?
For what, like $4?
For like,
$3?
I think it was like 7 or 8, something like that, but they're expensive. So I got them in, and I was excited, and I opened the box. And I looked, and I was like, this is really creepy. I pull them out, and like, they
Yeah.
all have different bodies with different heads.
So have you seen
They're
Toy
different,
Story
like-
with the brother?
Yes,
that
Sid
takes
got a
the heads
hold
apart
of these
and switches them
toys
out?
and jacked these toys up. They look like some weird psycho movie.
It's probably gonna be the next Halloween movie or
It was
something.
weird. So I was
Crazy
like,
eyes.
okay, we definitely cannot give these to her. She'll be
Guy flexing with the unicorn.
tormented for the rest of her life. So it's really weird. Like a dog, it was a dog body with like a bird parrot head with a unicorn. That was weird.
He's just
I
living
didn't
his
know
truth. It's his truth.
happened.
That's what it
So
is.
it's true. So
Living his truth.
what about like, have you ever been somewhere to get a haircut and what you expected was not what you received? Now, I do hair, so I know it. And one thing I can say, and for anybody else who's done in here, we are beauticians, not magicians. I
Oh,
get that.
hey.
Okay? But and everybody's hairstyles are different. But I have been places myself where I've had my hair cut and I walk out and I'm like, now you can totally see that
Remember that?
this is
I was
not
trying to
even. This is something's wrong here, and then you've had to go somewhere, and somebody else has had to pick somebody's mess. Chrissy, come on, you know it. So that's what happens, right? It's just a mess, and what you expected did not fit your reality, right? And just simple things.
Mine was messed up too, because I had this fade, but it only looked well when I turned my head to the side. Now, I didn't take into account the man
Wait,
had
just say I didn't do that. I didn't do that one.
We'll pray about it. But
No,
so,
I didn't do that.
I didn't take into account that the person...
You want to say
that
I did it? You
it,
can go back to art next
So-
time.
I didn't take into account the man had a thicker sole on one side of his foot. So, and I appreciate that, it was a quick fix, but then it was a mess up for me. So, yeah, I'm not trying to judge, I'm just saying, like, I expected something, had a good fade, I should have went to his son, because he was doing some good fades, so. Yeah, those realities sometimes don't add up. Do you ever deal with that, where you think one thing and you get it and it's not it? I mean, we do a lot of shopping online, and sometimes we don't receive what, we really wanted, or we get excited, or we do the wish thing, or we do the other one that's, you're just praying that, Lord, if it's coming from another country, hopefully I'll get it, and it's like jacked up, and you didn't get
What you
expected. But don't we get that also in relationships?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's all good up front. Everybody's putting on the front. But when it starts to get settled in, and you're like, that's
Well, it's simple. Even
not
in
the
simple,
reality. Like, where'd that person come from?
or what about just in simple conversations you have? You ever started a conversation and what you expected the conversation to go like doesn't fit the reality, and when you leave, you're like, well, that's not what I thought was gonna happen. But okay, here we
Or
are.
you mean well in the conversation, you pour your heart out, but then it didn't come the way in the end. You almost feel dumb, you almost feel mad. I mean, so many emotions happen in the moment of like, I have this expectation in my head of how this is gonna go, and I'm hoping for that, and I'm gonna walk that out with that. And then when the reality hits of it, you're like, okay, this is a mess. How do I handle this?
Yeah.
Now, if we're stuck in our flesh and dealing with just a lot of stuff, and we're not like getting in our core of who God is, those unexpected reality issues, we can go off. Then we're acting like we don't know who God is. Then we say we're a Christian and our actions don't act like it because that reality didn't happen right. And now I'm mad. And so then I'm acting crazy. And then what's crazy is those unexpected realities happen from somebody else that looks at you and says, "You're a Christian?"
Yeah.
It plays a whole cycle. But I'm telling you, when you have those unexpected realities, I hope it doesn't happen to you today when you go eat or whatever you're going to do.
Oh, it's a good possibility.
Like that stuff.
I already ordered groceries online.
Now, I'll remember, and I apologize for this, okay?
Well, okay, hold on.
No.
This better be good.
Wait.
That's all I know.
I'll hold you good.
You're choking me.
That's good, too. Just hold your breath. When we got married, we're married. When we got married, it's cool to kiss my hairstylist. That's awesome. When we got married, she can cook. And I made this statement about these unexpected realities because at first, I smelled something. So there was this reality of like, oh, mama's cooking. I ain't home. And remember, I made this statement. Let's say I made this statement of, my mama cooks it this way, and I thought it was going to taste like mama's. My mama said, and what did you say? Because it was an unexpected expectation I had, because I smelled it, it reminded me, and I was like, this is going to taste just like mom, man. And I said a dumb thing, put my foot in my mouth, and it fits well. But what did you say? No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
If
go
you
ahead.
remember,
I like when you say it.
No, I like when you say it so you can remember what was said. What was said?
If you want your mama's cooking, you can go home and live with your mama. I love you, Mom.
You ain't never said it again.
She's a good cook.
Hey,
But it's just...
But I know if there's something you like that your mom makes, and I don't make it well, I'll say, hey, Mom.
Mom
Can
makes.
you make
There's just
that?
certain things Mama
But-
makes. You smelled it, so there was that expectation, and then I said something stupid in the moment of it. And then I was like, that sucks.
Yeah, because on my end, I expected man, babe, thanks for dinner.
Good job.
It's
Because
awesome.
you're expecting to have some kind
You're
of...
taking mashed potatoes and
and then watch me eat it.
Is that good?
They're eating it. You want seconds? It's that smile. Anybody do that? That smile that you don't really smile? You're like, you want thirds?
Oh, that's like the kids one night. Remember when I was making homemade chicken noodles the one night? And I think was it Zion or Nevaeh? This might have been Nevaeh when she was really into ramen noodle like so bad it was like every meal. And they were like, what are we having for dinner? And I said, I'm making homemade chicken noodles and mashed
No, we're
potatoes.
talking homemade, like water,
Like from
boiling
scratch.
chicken.
And she's like,
cooked
I want
stuff.
ramen noodle. And I was like, how about you just not eat? That'd be okay
Chicken
with me.
noodle, no eating. Breakfast in the morning.
Yeah, it's peanut butter and jelly every meal. It's all right. At least you're eating. But the fact of
Top
it is,
ramen.
hey, what happens though, think about it, these are simple things and sometimes, yes, they are funny right now. They may not be funny in the moment to you,
It wasn't.
but what happens when what we expect doesn't match our reality?
Yeah.
How do we respond? What takes place? And we want to talk to you about somebody in the Bible because we believe that a lot of times unmet expectations can lead to wounds.
Ooh.
Unmet expectations lead to wounds, and today's title of the message is Wounded Warrior. I want to talk to you about a warrior in the Bible. If you'll turn with us to 2 Kings chapter 5, his name is Naaman. We're going to read verses 1 through 19. And it goes like this. It says, the king of Aram had great admiration for Naaman, the commander of his army, because through him the Lord had given Aram great victories. But though Naaman was a mighty warrior, he suffered from leprosy. At this time, Aramean raiders had invaded the land of Israel, and among their captives was a young girl who had been given to Naaman's wife as a maid. One day the girl said to her mistress, "I wish my master would go to see the prophet in Samaria. He would heal him of his leprosy." So Naaman told the king what the young girl from Israel had said. "Go and visit the prophet." And the king of Aram told him, "I will send a letter of introduction for you to take to the king of Israel." So Naaman started out carrying as gifts 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter to the king of Israel said, "With this letter I present my servant Naaman. I want you to heal him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and said, "Am I God that I can give life and take it away? Why is this man asking me to heal someone with leprosy?" I can see that he's just trying to pick a fight with me. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes in dismay, he sent the message to him, "Why are you so upset? Send Naaman to me, and he will learn that there is a true prophet here in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and waited at the door of Elisha's house. But Elisha sent a messenger out to him with this message: "Go and wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored, and you will be healed of your leprosy." But Naaman became angry and stalked away. "I thought he would certainly come out to meet me," he said. "I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of the Lord, his God, and heal me. Aren't the rivers of Damascus, the Abana, and the Pharpar better than any of the rivers of Israel? Why shouldn't I wash in them and be healed?" So Naaman turned and went away in rage. But his officers tried to reason with him and said, "Sir, if the prophet had told you to do something very difficult, wouldn't you have done it? So you should certainly obey him when he says simply, 'Go and wash up and be cured.'" So Naaman went down to the Jordan River and dipped himself 7 times as the man of God had instructed him. And his skin became as healthy as the skin of a young child, and he was healed. Then Naaman and his entire party went back to find the man of God, and they stood before him, and Naaman said, "Now I know that there is no God in all the world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant." But Elijah replied, "As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve, I will not accept any gifts." And though Naaman urged him to take the gift, Elijah refused. Then Naaman said, "All right, but please allow me to load 2 of my mules with earth from this place, and I will take it back home with me. From now on, I will never again offer burnt offerings and sacrifices to any other God except the Lord. However, may the Lord pardon me in this one thing: when my master the king goes into the temple of the God of Rimmon to worship there and leans on my arm, may the Lord pardon me when I bow to." "And go in peace," Elisha said. So Naaman started home again. So here Naaman was a wounded warrior physically in the first place, which is crazy because leprosy was a huge deal back in the day. It was a disease that honestly got you outcast. Like, you were supposed to live in your own little society and city and area during that time when you had leprosy. You were not to be around other people. It was seen as a very communicable disease and one that was spread very easily. And it's very rare, even in this story, to find somebody who is a commander of an army to have leprosy. I can't even imagine what he faced as he went out to battle, because leprosy is a disease that literally eats your flesh. I can't imagine the pain that he was in 24/7 trying to deal with his job and what he had been doing and where he was, and really, honestly, not expecting that his life would be this difficult where he was. And yet it says, even though he wasn't even a commander in the Lord's army, he wasn't even from Israel. He was from a totally different nation at that time that was against the Israelites. If you look at what was read, they had taken in an Israelite girl when they had defeated one of the cities, and she became his servant. And what's crazy about this is that this servant girl must have built a good rapport with Naaman, because in the fact of it is that she was willing to want to talk to her master to care for him. So this man had to be enough, and it says at the very beginning that the Lord blessed Naaman. Even though Naaman did not serve God, it wasn't that he believed in God, the Lord had blessed Naaman at this point. Now that's unexpected at this minute. But see, what I come to find out is what we expect in stories and what we expect in our life doesn't always turn out to meet our realities of how God faces it and turns it. And so what's crazy is, again, I want to ask you, what happens when what you expect differs from reality? See, Naaman wasn't only wounded physically, but he was wounded now mentally. You want to ask how? Well, he went to see Elisha to be healed, and it didn't turn out the way he thought. It wasn't handed to him on a platter. It wasn't some miracle that was just waved over him and instantly changed. What he expected didn't meet his reality. See, wounds measure the distance between expectation and reality. Wounds measure the distance between expectation and reality. See, this is what Naaman expected when Elijah is summoned for him from the distressed king. See, the king couldn't do anything. And why would the king do anything? If you know your history or look back at the story and look through things, that king was Jezebel's son. Of course he wasn't going to do anything. And so here he goes to Elijah, and the first thing that he expected for Elijah to do was see him. But Elijah sent out his messenger. Can you imagine what he thought? I came all this way to come see you, and you can't even come out to meet me, to talk to me? I am a commander in an army. You can't even take your time to come out and see me face to face, man to man. I traveled all this way, and you're going to send another servant. I just had a servant tell me what to do. Now you're going to send another servant to tell me what to do? Have you ever felt like that with God? I came all this way, God. I came all this way, and you can't even come out right at this minute and meet me. You're supposed to meet me here right now with how I feel, with where I'm at. Where are you at? You can't come face me? I mean, you know what I need. But am I talking to anybody in this room who in reality talks to God like this? Because I'm telling you, I talk to God like this because he's supposed to be my best friend. And my best friend is supposed to talk to me. So I'm going to talk to him even when I'm mad, when I'm happy, when I'm joyful, when I'm sad. I'm going to talk to God. Yeah. And you better be glad I talk to him and not any of you like that.
People get offended real quick.
Because I want to see him. I want to talk to him. And here Naaman, what he expected, he didn't get. He is ticked. Oh, he's mad now. You didn't come see me.
He tries to leave.
Well, the second.
He was done.
Oh, he wasn't even done there. The second thing that happens is he expected for Elijah to perform for him. He wanted Elijah to perform for him. It says back in here, and I love this part right here. It says it in, I believe that it is it's back in verse 11. It says, but Naaman became angry and stalked away. I thought that he would certainly come out to meet me. He said, I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of Jesus. He wanted Elijah to perform for him. You ever wanted God to just perform for you?
He would have already went. He didn't even know who he was. The girl told him. Because if he really had known, he would already try to figure out to get to him.
He didn't know, but have you ever been somewhere and you met something and you're like, that ain't it? Like, I need to see, like, give me the manager. My food ain't right. 3 people done not made it right, and now I want to talk to a manager. Somebody's not made my food right. Is that just me? I'm just telling you right now.
On the flip side, sometimes what happens is like, say, the staff at the church, and I'm not available to talk to somebody or to pray with them. They think that whoever it is, that because of me being the pastor of this house, that my prayers are going to be more effective than somebody else praying. I get I'm the pastor of this house, but don't put me on no pedestal like that, because God can still use anybody. If Miss Jackie's answering the phone or talking to somebody, God's going to wreck her to use them. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. But some people just have to I just need to see the main pastor. I just need to talk to that one main person, thinking that one main person was going to solve your problem. And listen, I'm not your main person. He's your main person. Let's just get it out there real quick. He's your main person. Now, if somebody don't know who God is and thinks I'm the main person, we got to lead people to the main person. So if they see that Christ is in you, then that's a huge responsibility because that's the only Christ they might see. Are you leading them to Jesus? Or are you trying to take a selfie with them to tell them what you did?
But you have to realize, just like Elijah answered to them, he chose not to perform.
Yeah.
And see, Christianity isn't a performance, it's a lifestyle. You can't just perform acts for people and act like that everything's just good. It's not just by works that you do something, it's faith with works makes it go together. But the fact of it is you can't just perform for people and act like everything's just all right. And see, Elijah knew this. He knew that he couldn't just perform and act. Through God. Could have God done it through him that way? Absolutely. Could God have used Naaman just to touch him? I mean, he used Peter's shadow later on in the Bible. I mean, he could have just fast forwarded it, before Peter and all the things happened and allowed that kind of stuff to happen. But what happened was...
God did use Elisha
he did,
many times.
Many times. But at this moment, that's just not what God had in mind. What happens when at the moment you expect God to perform a miracle or something for you and it doesn't meet your reality, when that's not what God had in mind? What do you respond with? How do you respond when God doesn't perform for you the way that you wanted right away?
I think sometimes it shows where people really are if you don't get the answer in the moment you want it at this time. And it shows the true character that comes out.
Well, I think it made him upset because Naaman's like, okay, first of all, I came this far. You didn't even come out to see me. Now you don't want to talk to me. Is it because of my leprosy? Think about it. That's how wounds do.
Shoot.
They flip the script. See, because wounds
Then you
make
start
you
talking from
live
the
off of your offenses instead of where you are in your faith and your presence with God. So what happens is it flip the script. He could have been like, what? Because you don't want to come out and see me now? You don't want to touch me? Am I not good enough for you to do anything for me? And then what happens is he's like, now I have to do the work. I've done traveled this far, and now you want me to go do the work. And now you want me to go do it in some dirty river where I'm not even going to get clean. These sores could get infected. Are you kidding me? This is what you're asking me to do. Go dip in some dirty river. You want me to do the work, God? You're God. Aren't you the one who's supposed to do the work for me? You could just snap your fingers and make it all go away. What happens when the way God wants to do it isn't how you expect it? What do you do in that moment? The third thing is he expected Elisha to heal him. He expected Elisha to heal him.
We have that.
Because look what it says. It says, I expected him to wave his hand over the leprosy and call on the name of the Lord his God and heal me. I expected him to call on the name of his God and him to heal me.
I've heard people that are, you can think in your head like there's some powerful prayer warriors, okay? Real deal. But I've seen people wear them out. Give me a word. Give me a word. Give me a word. Is this Blue's Clues or Pee-wee's Playhouse? These young kids, these young kids don't know nothing about Pee-wee's Playhouse. Huh? My bad. But what's the magic word today? I better sit down. I'm gonna say something dumb. I can't do it. I can't do it. But too many times we expect somebody else to give you a word that's gonna just tickle your fancy to get you on the next path. Get in the Word. That's your word. Get in the Word. Let God speak. Yes, God does use people to speak life. And a lot of that, if they're even giving you prophecy or something like that, that should already be connected to what you already know. Not something out there making up something and just going with it. It should connect to your spirit. It should be confirmation for what you've already been praying. But too many times we want somebody just to do something else. And most of the time when we're dealing with stuff and stuff's going on, we need God in this moment real quick. And then we're mad if it doesn't happen within this small frame. And I listen, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'll throw my family on blast. Praying for my grandpa. I put a post out earlier that morning. Please pray for my grandpa's heart. Within an hour, he was gone. You see what I'm saying? I could have turned myself into a rage. That's my grandpa. You gonna take him? He's healthier than half of these young people. He'll hop up and down the truck. carry more than most people, outwork any lazy person and any strong person. Please tell me you're tired. You see what I'm saying? And I could have got so mad, and I was praying, and I was in that moment. I'm like, God, I know whatever it's going to be, God. And if I didn't have my source found in Him, I would have went bonkers. Now, people around me, and I know and the way people deal with losing somebody, and some people, like are struggling with that. But you've got to dig deep because God has a bigger plan. Amen. Whether it's something in that moment or that pressing. You ever feel that? And the Bible says that you're pressed but not crushed. Yes. Has anybody ever got to that place where like, I feel crushed? Or are you going to release it? Go the other way. Reverse. Please reverse. You ever felt so pressed? And you're wanting, God help me, like you're trying to do all your things you do. And it's so simple. Quit trying to like create something. We do this.
And then he puts on you, what's funny is even when you're pressed.
Yeah.
Because I think this is important, is when you're pressed, I think he also still comes in and wants to see how you're going to respond.
Yeah.
Because we came in here on Thursday.
Yeah.
So Grandpa passed away on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We came in here on Thursday, and after we had cleaned and everything, and then Brandon and I were just in here with the kids, and I see a truck pulling. And as I'm sitting there, I look, and this elderly gentleman gets up. We have trucks and vehicles pulling here all the time. And this elderly gentleman gets out and starts walking around, and I see him drop his tailgate. Well, you can tell he was very fragile and probably older than, I bet he was at least close to his 90s, but he was very fragile. And he was trying to figure out how to climb into the back of his truck and get a couple of his bags with his recyclables had opened and they flown all out over the back of the truck. He was trying to figure out how to get back up in there. And I saw him and he about fell, and I just dropped all my stuff on the floor and ran out and jumped up into the truck and I said, I'll get it, and he's trying to climb up. So here Brandon comes out and literally picks him up, puts him in the back of the truck. We put all of the stuff in his bags. We tie him up. Brandon has to pick him up. Literally pick him up and take him back down, out. We go over to the door, and he can't even figure out how to roll his windows down and unlock the back door. He couldn't figure it out. So Brandon helps him figure it out, get him going. The lady in the front says, I'm so sorry, I forgot my walker and I couldn't get out and help him. And here we're in this whole situation of, my grandpa just died who could do all this, and I don't understand. And you got me here serving someone else? And
listen, I had a moment. Oh, if I'm going to be 100%, I was ticked. This guy's barely making it. My grandpa can run circles around him and he's dead. Yeah. As I walked in the church, I have put my arm around him and I said, I'm just struggling. And see, when the expectations don't add up, it's okay. You got to be honest with yourself.
God's not upset.
But you still got to get to the core deal. And she said the same thing. She goes, remember when we lost, and maybe some of you don't know this, but we would have had 4 kids. Mm-hmm. How old would you have been?
17.
Wow, 17. That's
actually
crazy.
18 this December.
Yeah, so we'd had an 18-year-old. Mm-hmm. We got married. She got pregnant. We didn't wait long. We was getting it, we started a family, it's life. We didn't wait. People say wait, we're just like we want to, but struggle is real. But you sweating, girl? Watch out. Go home. Sure. Somebody gonna watch these kids today. Hallelujah. Okay, I'll stop. I want to get you fired up. But listen, I know I get you all crazy heaven, brother. It's crazy. So she gets pregnant, and we go through that process of having, starting to start a family. And then she lost the baby. And, she was kind of reminding me as we were walking in. Because I struggled too, because I was so ticked off. God, why would you take my son and all these teenage girls are having babies and are keeping them? And we're doing it the right way. It was tough. I'm talking tough. And we didn't have no fam. We lived in Arizona.
We had
were
three
all alone.
three teenage girls. We were doing youth ministry, and we had 3 teenage girls in our youth ministry that were pregnant at that time.
And it was tough.
That was tough.
Like, why?
And having to teach them how to be a mother when you can't even
Be a mother,
be a mother. That was tough. And what happened?
And that was that unexpected reality.
That was unexpected.
Yeah. And then you're mad, but you got to find your source, because if you stay mad, guess what it would have done to us? It would have shaped our life to this day. And I don't know what has happened, and I'm not taking it lightly, but has it shaped your life to who you are now? And then God can replace and heal that.
That's right.
That's how good He is. He fills that void.
That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that everything just goes away. You're not going to forget.
We still talk about it. The
still
kids talk about it because we talk about it. We're
But
open
I'm
about
telling
it.
you what, there's a healing that takes place. But what Naaman did is he literally defaulted to fury, and it revealed his trust in his anger and not in God.
Well, when he walked away, he was he was so mad. You ever been so mad you walk away, but you just walked away from your vehicle, from everything else? You're just like, okay, what are you going to do? Just walk? You left your keys in your truck. You're like,
Yeah.
I've been there. Anybody else been there where you just walked away?
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
I'm done.
Like, okay, what about your wallet? What about your phone? I don't care about nothing. I'm out. And then you care later. You're like, man, I need my wallet.
Oh,
I wish I could call somebody.
But then you're more mad because somebody said something. No, I don't need my wallet. And you turn around. I get my wallet.
And listen, if you raised your hand, it was back in the day, all you needed was a quarter anyway, and you could call somebody. You know what I'm saying? So.
Have you ever, I think what's crazy about it is when we resort to those things and being angry, and when we have wounds that take place in our life, even when we're serving God. This is why it's about the wounded warrior, because, see, Naaman was a soldier in an army, and we're talking about going to war, but in times in war, you can get wounded.
Yeah.
And you're not too good to get wounded. Everybody has wounds that take place. And it's what we do with them that make the difference. And I think that it made me think of the saying, have you ever heard about heartsick? You ever heard the saying, being heartsick?
Yes.
If you haven't heard it, to be heartsick is to feel dull, depressed, unhappy, very sad, to experience grief and bitterness, anger, and frustration that doesn't leave. See, when you're heartsick, what happens is those emotions just unravel into another, and into another, and into another. And instead of leaning on God, and see, you can be sad of heart and happy and joyful and have all those things, but when your heart is sick, what happens is it means that you have all these emotions and these things that you put your trust in instead of leaning on God. And you're very sick in heart because God hasn't been able to come in and heal and take care of and restore those wounds.
Well, like, I know this is all fresh and stuff, but what's funny about this sermon, this has all been in the works for weeks. And, you know, with what happened with my grandpa, there was a moment, even last night and then this morning, I said, you gotta pray for me, I'm struggling. I'm struggling bad. And there's moments that your flesh wants to eat at you and say, you know, just stay home. Just stay home. Just rest. Just rest. You're good. And it's not that you don't need to rest, but you got to know what you really need to do, because if your source is found in Christ, if God is telling you to do something, you need to obey God. But if it's not God and it's just your flesh and you're just going through something, you need to keep moving. If God doesn't tell you to stop moving, keep moving. He says, I'll make you lie down in green pasture. He does the work. He knows how to make you rest. Just keep going. Just keep going. And what do? You find those moments. You remind yourself, you dig deep into what His Word says, and you challenge it. If you're my strength, then I'm going to put it to the work. And I need to get into who you are so I can find that strength, and I can find that peace. And I had the opportunity to say that even at the thing. We said it a long time ago here at the church, and I'll still say it again. It isn't rest in peace for Grandpa. Rest in peace for me. Rest in peace for you.
That's right.
Because he said, peace I leave with you. It didn't mean that he's leaving it with me when I die. He's leaving it with me while I live.
Yes.
So we got to dig deep in peace.
Well, it's reminding yourself all the time. What I said last week is that, you know, we can focus on so much of what we don't know and the things that take place that we forget what we do know. And what we do know is God is faithful and He's true to His word. And we've said that to ourselves so many times in this past week. And what's crazy about it
Faithful.
is if Elijah would have done it Naaman's way, Naaman's trust and faith would have been misplaced and not relied on God. If God would have done it your way, what would you trust in today? If God would have done it your way, how you wanted it done, and the way that you expected it to work out, what would you trust in? Who would be your hope and your source? You? Yourself? What you did? Or the person who's your best friend who can fill your ear every time and listen to everything that you want to say and give you all the feel good so they can agree with you? What is it? What's your source? What's crazy is,
If you did it your way, you didn't need faith.
no, you didn't need faith.
You don't need faith when you know your own plans. You just do it. But you have, when that's why God keeps saying, the plans I have, declares the Lord, to prosper you. When we have our own, I don't know why we keep thinking this, that we can create all this plan of our own lives and then ask God to do something on the side with it. Can you check this over, God, this plan, and can you co-sign my plan, please? Can you co-sign this plan that I got, declares Brandon? You know what I mean? Like, but we do this all the time, and we're so frustrated and upset because the reality doesn't add up to this is a good plan. I even got it color coordinated and everything. I've got Google stuff, and I'm all laid out.
Well, we treat prayer like a drive-through window. You know, God, I got this order. Now, I want you to heal my mama, and I want you to help pay that electric bill, and I need a new car, and my kids need new clothes.
I get an extra large
if you could
blessing.
just put an extra check in the mail, that would be great, God. This is what I need. Did you get my order? Okay, good. That's all I wanted to know, and I'll talk to you later. Now, I expect it to be built no less than 24 hours from now, God. Just fix it all. Right now, I mean, you got it, and we're good. We're good. Thank you, and have a great day.
And in those moments, guess what we do? I'm gonna wait on you, waiting on the Lord. And we're not moving a muscle. Instead of putting the rag out and say, I'm gonna wait on you, God. What else would you need?
Oh, and then God says you need extra money, and then what happens is you say, oh God, I need some extra money. And He says, okay, here's a job.
J-O-B, baby.
Well, I didn't want it like that. That means I got to do the work. I don't want to do it that way. And I already work one job. You mean I got to go mow somebody's lawn so I can make that $50 so I can go buy my kids new shoes? You can't just give me $50. I mean, you said you own a cattle on 1,000 hills. You can't just like pour some of that gold from heaven into my, I mean, you could write me a blank check.
Yes.
What is the deal?
Cut the cattle, give me the leather.
I mean, come on now. You can't do it? That's right.
And he wants you to wave it.
Yeah, we
Wish
want it.
about a Honda.
That's
Wish
right.
about a Honda.
That's right, and God's looking at you. Yeah. So here God does this and gives you the opportunity, but think about it.
They want him to do that.
We want God to do it.
God, we're making stuff up. I'm not saying that speaking in tongues ain't real. It's real. But when we're making crap up, just act like we're going to get away with it.
Yeah.
That's not right.
No. And God, what most of the times I've found out is that when you need something from God and you do it, He will give you an opportunity to be a part of your own blessing.
Yeah.
He'll give you an opportunity. If Naaman would not have, if he would have just walked away and allowed his anger, see what happened is his anger was his cozy warm blanket that became his defensive shield. Because it was good. I'm ticked off and I'm going to tell you what I think about it and I'm walking away. If you don't want to heal me, I'm going to go figure it out myself. I've done it this far and I'll do it this far again, and I've lived and you've already blessed me, so whatever.
Quick. Side note. Be careful who you hang out with.
Yeah.
Because Naaman's, one of his dudes, ran over and like, hold up. Because sometimes even the people we hang out with want to pet us too and say, you know, I get it. Let's go, come on. He would have missed it all if those guys would have just said, look, let's just go. Or just, oh, I get it. You know, you want some ice cream? You want something from Starbucks? Yeah, I know you do. But, you know, like, because what happens, there's just these things that we like. Like, I need about 5 Oreos. And, you know, like, I need to go curl up and watch Hallmark and just be soaking in this, you know. But his guys were, like, challenging him. Who's your close friends? Who's those ones when those unreal expectations happen that are going to help challenge you to be better? And not just pet you and just like, okay, let's go for a walk. Okay, let's just go back. Okay, well, you're in charge. Okay. No, they challenged him. So be careful who these friends you have. Your so-called besties and your friends and the greatest friends. That you need somebody that's going to challenge you even when you're acting so mad that I don't even want to hear it. Don't even tell me. But it didn't bother them. They're like, this is it right here.
Yeah.
But too many times we have somebody that pets us and we like that because any attention, negative or positive, is still attention. And so we just fall for it and we keep being caressed by it, and then the next moment happens and nobody's showing me attention, so I'm going to act a fool over here so I can draw all my dysfunctional friends to me for attention. This reality don't add up.
Well, what I loved about Naaman's friends is they were his servants. They were servants.
He didn't even have to listen to him.
The person who led him to go get his healing was a servant. The people who chased him down to receive his healing were servants. And what God began to speak to me out of this story was that if we would have hearts of a servant. See, what's crazy about a servant is they are expectant of what the master needs and desires. And when servants have the heart to serve their master, then their expectations meet their reality because they are only concerned about what their master wants. When we as children of God become true servants of the King and align our expectations with what the master wants, then we would find our expectations meet our reality.
Man, it's so good.
I would rather be the servant in the story than be Naaman, who was so ticked off because I didn't get what I wanted.
We
have to understand that God says we are to have a servant waiting on the Lord, having a servant's heart to wait on Him. That's what it means. When you wait on God, you're asking Him, what do you expect from me? What do you desire from me?
They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, shall walk and not faint.
When you say,
that is what happens when you wait.
That's right. But what happens is when you are expectant of what the King wants, then what happens? It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. When you are expectant of what the Master needs, of what He desires from you, what happens is something from heaven begins to come and meet your reality and change the atmosphere. And we need to begin to have a servant's heart towards Jesus Christ, to get up in the morning and say, even though things don't happen, though you slay me, yet I will serve you. Man. It doesn't matter what's going on. And see, the thing about Naaman is he had people who knew what the Master wanted. And the Master wanted that he needed to be healed. The Master Jesus Christ wanted him to be healed. But it wasn't just for the fact of his healing. It was so he could go back and spread the love of Jesus Christ back to a nation who didn't believe. See, what happens is you want what you want right now at this minute because you expect it. And we have a couple things that I want to share with you for a minute personally that God's done and has done. And just getting real. Is it okay to be real for a minute? Because I'm telling you, there's been moments where I have felt like Naaman. Actually, I just had one of those moments the other day, and what ticked me off even more about God is He was like, well, you going to preach that? And I was like, I'm ticked off because you want me to preach that, and I feel like Naaman right now. We were laying in bed the other night, and I was just frustrated. And this was before Grandpa passed away. So we've had a lot go on. And I was just expressing my frustrations. to God and my husband. And I was laying there and he just said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No, I'm not all right. I'm tired." I said, "I am tired. I'm exhausted. I'm worn out. I'm tired." I said, "You know what? If God could just fix one thing, if he could take one thing off our plate, that would be fantastic right now, Brandon. It would be great because I know that he loves me and I know I love him. But if he could just take one thing off my plate, do you not care?" I'm just being real.
That's how that.
And he's looking at me, he's like, "You good?" And I was like, "I'm good. I'm just talking to God. Because God knows I'm upset already, so I'm just going to share it with him because he's real with me and I'm going to be real with him." And that doesn't mean I don't love him. I was telling him, I said, "God, that don't mean I don't love you and I don't want to serve you." And I said, "You know what makes me more mad is you know that I'm going to keep going after you. And that's just what it is. And right now I'm mad." And so I left it because, see, we were in a situation where God had asked us to give something away. And we did it. And we did it with everything within us. We gave away our vehicle. And we knew that that was the right thing to do. And we had another circumstance that was taking place and we were good. And all of a sudden, we had no vehicle. We had no extra vehicle to go. We had all this stuff that was going on crazy. I was getting up early to take Brandon places, come back, take care of the kids, go back, get Brandon, come back and do other things. Try to come back and get him to where he needed to go. Then we borrowed the church van for one day because we needed it. And
Like a jacked up 18 van. That thing needs to go somewhere.
And as we're driving it home, Brandon rolls down the window because, of course, in our truck we had no AC. The AC went out. And then what happened as we were going, it was stinking hot and everybody's sweating. And Brandon's driving the truck van home. And the AC went out in the van. And we're driving the van home. And Brandon's got the window down. And he comes out and he's like, "Babe, the window won't go up." And I was like, "Sweet." And he's like, "Babe, it's getting ready to storm." And I was like, "That's great." And he's looking and I'm like, "Okay, let's try to get it up." So we get it up to push it up, and guess what happens? It's off the track and it just keeps falling down. Just keeps falling down. And I'm like,
We had to use Mexican chrome. The Mexican chrome is called duct tape. And we trying to, we live in Arizona, so this is no.
and you know what's worse about it at that time? No, what's worse is we're using that. You say we're using that, and at that time, we were getting ready to go eat tacos. All I wanted to do was go eat a taco. That's what I expected. I just wanted to go sit down and eat a taco. It was Taco Tuesday. They were $1. And my thing of it is like, so I'm getting even more upset. I'm like, this is just frustrating. I mean, everything we touch, why don't I go ahead and just go smash all the pumpkins on the front, because the squirrels already ate all of it, and why don't I just go ahead and go kick in the door of the car, because, you know, it doesn't matter anymore. Let's just keep breaking things, because it's fun. He's cracking up. This is my reality, because I'm just going to be real with God. And of course the kids are like, "I'm hungry. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "It's good. It's good. Just get in the car. We're going to go. We're going to go eat. We just got to put the window up. Just leave it alone. Just sit in the car and be good. Okay, thank you." And they're all looking at me. Mom's lost it. Mom's lost it.
There she goes.
So we're sitting, that was the night that I was crying, and that was on a Saturday night before we come in here, or Friday night. No, that was Tuesday night, and then that Friday, I had cried with Brandon, and then Saturday we had just a crazy day, and the next day was Sunday, and we went and Kurt had offered to let us borrow the Jeep, which was great because we needed it. He just kind of called and said, "Hey, do you need the Jeep?" And we were like, "Yes, that would be fantastic for a couple days." And then on that Sunday afternoon, we take a drive, and we just took a long drive, and I was like, "You know what, God, I'm just going to get focused back on you, whatever we got to do." We go take this drive, and I had somebody send me a picture that they had overheard Brandon talking about looking for a vehicle. In the time that we were looking for one, our truck, which has never gone in the shop with any major problem, decides to have all kinds of radiator problems and breaks down. So we had that issue at the same time. And we ended up having to pay for all that.
You feel that press?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not even half the story. This is just this big. So we're driving and somebody sends and says, "Hey, do you want, I have this vehicle that we saw. Would you like to look at it?" And I was like, "I really appreciate that. We'll have to just see what we can do and see what we can work out with finances. I'm not sure that we'd be able to do that right at this minute." And they were like, "Okay, we were just thinking of you." So this couple calls us, and it was the next day. They said, well, why don't you come, we want to come meet you the next day, and we want to go look out at this vehicle. We know you really need something. Let's see what we can do to figure it out. And I was like, oh, we'll go look. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you can go look, but unless the money grows on trees, it ain't happening, but okay. I mean, I'm just being reality. My expectation was no money, no car.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And right at this second, we couldn't get the bank to loan us any money.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, whatever, God, whatever you want to do. So we get in the vehicle and we drive. And this couple starts talking to us, and they said, well, we'll just be, we might even help you. Right now we know you can't get a loan, let's help you. And we'll help you out, maybe even be the bank, you can pay us payments. And I was like, wow, I was overwhelmed with that. I'm like, man, this is awesome because, first of all, you don't have to do that. You're personally taking your time to take us to try to say that you know our need. Even you doing that, that's sweet. We've got Covered Bridge coming up. We've got other things. We can pay that off in no time. We just right at this minute didn't have upfront money. So we go, we see the vehicle. What's crazy is the vehicle had just been placed out on the road the night before, only had one owner. Nothing was wrong in it. Nobody had even rode in the back seat. Ever. Ever. Great condition car, and I'm like, this is great. We take it on a test drive, we go ride it. Brandon and I are like, yes, let's do this. This is what we need right now. It was at such a great price, and we were like, let's do it. And then we were trying to figure out how we would make payments. We go up, we decide to purchase the vehicle, and the couple comes out to us after we purchased the vehicle, and they come out and they said, we get in the car, and we're just overwhelmed because, again, that's just God. You know what I'm saying? Because God coming out with somebody saying that they'd be willing to front you, that's Him saying, I'm going to use the things that I have and the resources, which are my people in this earth, to give you what maybe the world and the law and the things won't give you that you need. I know what you need. And I'm like, okay, this is awesome, God. And so then we roll the window down, we get in the car, and they're like, you like it? And we're like, yes. And we're like, thank you so much. And we're just really overwhelmed. And they're like, well, what do you think about payments? And so we're like, well, we could do something like this. And we're like, well, what do you think about it? Because you're the one up front in the money, so what do you think?
True money.
And they said, well, we thought it would go like this. The car's yours and you're debt free.
Wow.
Wow. Great.
And we bawled. I don't even think we said goodbye. Like they just got in the car and walked away.
That's it.
Be
You're
blessed.
debt free. Enjoy your ride home, and left. I was like,
I didn't even have to.
I couldn't process that. And to the point, listen, because they didn't even know this other side of this story. We sat in that parking lot and cried and held each other for like 25 minutes. To the fact that the people who owned the house and previously owned the vehicle comes opening the garage to do something, and they're like, you guys okay? Is everything okay? What's wrong? And we're like, we're just overwhelmed. And so we get to share the blessing of what happened. And we were sitting in the parking lot. We couldn't even hardly leave, couldn't hardly see. And God's faithful, and He's true to His word. He's faithful. And I'll tell you this. I told this on the way home with Jen. And we just even in the trials, even my grandpa and all this stuff, and just knowing
But I could have been angry.
So angry.
I was angry. And even that night, I'll never forget, you said to me that night, you're like, Jen, I know you're angry right now, but God's faithful. Just remember.
What you said.
Remember what you said, and I was like, I don't care if I said it. But I care.
He's faithful.
He's faithful. He's true to His word. And that was being a good friend to me. You were being like Naaman's friend. You were trying to redirect me back around to, you're there. That's an emotion, but don't stay there because that's going to keep you from the blessing of what God did. Don't stay there because you're going to miss out what God's getting ready to do. You asked Him to do something. May not be the way that you wanted it, but I'm just telling you right now, or the way that you even thought it was going to come out. But He's getting ready to bless you. Just don't stay where you are. Just turn around. Give praise back to God.
He's faithful. He's so faithful. And I'll tell you this, you cannot, I'm going to say it one more time, you cannot outgive God.
Amen.
You can't do it. You try. You just can't do it.
Yes.
He is so faithful that whatever you give, it's going to be a return. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over.
Yes.
And then we say that. That's why we say that about tithe and offering. We're not here just because we need your money. We just want you to just be obedient to God. Because He's faithful. And I was telling Jen on the way home, God reminded me of something. He said, son, I told you. I said, what? You gave your car away when you needed it in March. Just like farmers that sow seeds in March. And you just reap a harvest during harvest. Within the same season. He said, I'm faithful. And in that moment, weeks ago, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do. We were borrowing a different vehicle, and that needed to be at a different family, and just this is the way it is. And you're like, God. But see, His ways are greater than my ways. They're higher. They're better. And I'll tell you what, when you faithfully give, when you're faithful in the Word, and no matter, like it didn't meet the expectation, I'm like, God, you told me to give. Now, I don't want to be a dang Indian giver and ask for it back. I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. But I know people that do stuff like that. But like I know, and it's a good car, and it runs well. And I put $20 in it, go for 2 weeks. I mean, but if I start questioning His obedience that He told me to give, I'm gonna miss the whole thing. But He's faithful, and then here it is in that moment.
We had to do the work to trust.
Absolutely.
And trusting, I believe, is the hardest part. Because I believe when Naaman dipped even to that 6th time, his trust was going, I'm going to go down one more time. If I come up with these swords still, I'm telling you what, it's going down.
So
I'm over it now.
Let me tell you one more thing, and then we can get out of here. Because I want you to leave with this, because this is so impacting. I think we'll probably want to talk about it next week some more. I've been pretty open and honest about a lot of random things. I've had some pretty crazy health issues. So they say I have fatty liver disease. And what happens is it just keeps growing, and then what happens is you need to have a transplant. Because that's just what it is. But I don't drink. I don't do all this other stuff. I'm not real overweight, but it just was one of those things that like, people don't understand, and they were trying to figure it out, and they're like, you got a fatty liver. And so I put a picture of these elevated numbers. I don't know if it's up there. It's a bad picture. Okay, so it's hard to see this, and I can put this online. But there's a lot of, it looks like some kind of tiger. It's got black in it and all that, and it's all jacked up. That's my liver. All that other stuff is like scarred, and it's fatty. And my numbers are real high. What's bad? What's the number that's supposed to be bad?
So if you see that it says 23.1 on the side, that number is supposed to be, when it's bad, that number is supposed to be about 7, which they say is like the best liver ever.
No, but bad.
But the worst is 15.
15 is the worst. There's my number, 23.1. So I go in and that's happening. This is the end of 2020. We start 2021, and I get this result. He's like, listen, you need to lose weight. You need to do all this stuff. And I was mad. Because there was times where I was fasting, and I was praying, and I was asking God to help me through this, and it got worse, and I gained weight. And now He's saying within the next year and a half, if you don't do something, you're going to have a transplant. You're going to have to go in for a transplant.
Which livers don't just come.
Yeah, you know, it's not a thing. So it's like it's a rare deal. And so what I did was I was mad. And I started to, because the reality didn't add up to my expectations. And I got ticked. I started eating, started just doing stupid stuff. I didn't exercise. I came here and I was preaching about who God is, but my temple was out of whack. Out of whack. Go home and eat. You know, I'm praying, God, you got to heal me. God, I need you to do something now as I'm eating a huge sandwich with 3 Oreos. you need to do this, God. What's going on? And I'm drinking my big old glass of sweet tea, drinking soda, drinking all this stuff. And God, I need you to heal me, and having moments of raising my hands and just crying out to God. Oh, he looks like he's spiritual. Woo. Man, God's using him. Praise the Lord. And not realizing I'm causing half the problem. Then I get mad about it and I don't do nothing about it. Then I get worse because I chose to be just ticked. Started to be like Naaman, and I just walked away in my own self. I gave up on myself on it. I didn't listen to the people around me, my friends. And I would sit and eat. There would be times, because you got crap in your pantry, why not eat it? Eat it when everybody goes to bed. Grab a little snack cake just in the pass. Grab something. You could eat healthy, but you choose not to. Big bag of chips. Just eat whatever. You sit there and you start swelling up and getting fat, and you're wondering why you're big. And you cause the problem. Now, I get people have issues with their weight and stuff. I'm not saying this. I'm talking about me. This is me. Me on blast. I chose to be so mad. I had 3 necks. They were all talking. It was all jacked up. The whole thing was a mess. You can laugh. I'm laughing at myself. But I chose to just continue to not have self-control in my personal life because of the results I got from the doctor. And I wanted it to be done, and I thought it was going to be done when I thought it was going to be done. And I kept praying to God, do something as I'm destroying my body. So I just made it worse. Until March 1st. March 1st, 2021. I chose myself. Didn't even care about the liver thing. It wasn't even about that. I just said, I'm done. I'm tired of preaching and not living it. And you heard me say this. I have not been living right. I said that. And it got real quiet because when they hear that kind of thing, like, what happened, And I was like, Josh was speaking. We were sitting around the couch, and I'll never forget the sermon because it was about the brother who sold his inheritance for a bowl of soup. And I said, I'm that guy, but I've physically been eating a bowl of soup, and the next bowl of soup, and then somebody else's soup, and their chips, and their Oreos, and those things, and those big old things when I go and get all the greasy stuff. So, but it's not happening anymore. God wrecked me, and it was during service when it all happened. It wrecked my life. Like if he dwells in my temple, what am I doing with this thing? But it didn't match up. So I decided that day, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to do my best to eat healthy. Yes, there's stuff, but you got to balance it out. I started doing that. I go back to the doctor a few months ago. Month and a half? Maybe about a month ago. Can I show you the next picture? 7 is the best. If you can see it clear, there's no more. My liver's normal. I don't have a fatty liver. It's at 8.2. Listen, I ain't gonna lie, a couple years ago I went on a fast just to see if I could lose weight to get the numbers down. Took advantage of God. I'm being real, 100%. Well, if I fast, I could, pray to God, but I'll just lose weight, get the numbers down. They got worse. Expectedly. Don't mess with God. But when I chose myself, and I want you to hear me, because maybe you're facing something and you're not getting the answers. 2 things happen. I believe 100%. 1, God healed me. 2, I helped the process. 100%. God healed me, and I did the work too. But I did it with everything I had. To this day, and people give me a hard time, oh, Brandon, you at church before church? Yeah, you'll find me there at 6 in the morning working out every day. No, now I'm not a gym rat, this and that, but I found that it's not just a New Year's resolution. It is a lifestyle to be healthy. And some people are like, you're on vacation? You worked out on vacation? I'm rested. No, it's not that I'm resting or not. It's a part of my daily life. I brush my teeth. I take a drink of water. I work out. It's just a part of life for me now. And I'm not here to give you some kind of coaching on working out. I'm just trying to tell you when he said to go dip 7 times, he had to do the work too. When Jesus said get up and walk, he had to get up. Look through the Bible of miracles. Now there's some where Jesus did like that and it was done. But there was a lot that he was just trying to get them to do something. Go wash your face. I see trees. Do it again. Touching ears. Making them do something. Go back. Go back again. And I'm just telling you right now, those unexpected expectations will destroy your life. But when you start to put all of it into the Lord's hand and you do your part 100%, not 30%, not 25%, all of it. I'm telling you right now for a fact. Can I finish the back end? I know we got to go and Colts might be playing and food's whatever. Let me tell you something. I get there and I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know. You know what? I'm not even going to think about it. I know what I've been doing. And he walks in, and he's got his jaw to the floor. And he's walking around, and he's got this paper, and he said, Mr. Norman, I don't even know what to do. I said, what happened? I got to get a transplant. He said, this piece of paper is wrote out for everything you need to do from what happened last time. I've made plans for your past, from your past, to help you in your future. I said, hold up, God had other plans, so you're going to have to do something else with those plans.
But what did he say? He said, I expected to see you heavier than what you were last time, and because I expected that, I made my plan off my expectations.
And he was dumbfounded. He goes, I've never, ever had this happen to me. And I said, I'll tell you right now, I put in some work. But God healed me too.
He even went back to your test. What doctor goes back in?
The doctor doesn't do that. So you have to get this kind of like sonogram thing. They put it on you and it does this pressure thing and so you can see it. Never ever. And the lady even said that. This doctor's never been back here. They do it, they come, they read it. He walked through all this weird stuff and he's like, I just need to see it for myself. I have to see this for myself because what did you do? What did you do? I need to write this down. What did you do? I need to help other people with this. What did you do? It was so, it messed him up because his plans for my future was based on my past.
But because you chose to become a servant of God and do what the master expected, it affected the people around you. That's the key point.
Stand up with me, guys.
Don't be Naaman and walk away in your anger from unmet expectations, but be like the servant who turned around and chased him down and said, come on, you don't want to miss your blessing, and expect what the master expects for your life and see if God won't turn it around.
He will turn it around. Those unexpected realities, listen, get lined up with God. Quit focusing on the problems. Just when I'm telling you, one of the biggest things that happened with me, and I went from 265 pounds to 218 pounds. Like that's big. Like that, I still got to go to the store and buy like new shorts because they just float on me.
But that was in less than 6 months.
Less than 6 months. And I chose to start doing the right thing. And because I took the steps to do it right, God healed me in the same hand. It was a twofold thing. I'm sitting there eating Oreos and chips. God, you need to heal me. Got my Big Mac. Oh, you just need to heal me. I'm just trying. I hope my liver, heal my liver. And he's like, you're causing half your own problem. How do you want me to heal this? Until I had to figure it out for myself. And I literally put my eyes on him. Didn't think about my problem. Didn't think about what the doctor said and what everything else happened. I literally just kept focused on him and honestly forgot that I had an appointment. And when I got there, I wasn't even thinking about fatty liver. I just said, whatever's going to happen is going to happen because I've had to keep my eyes on him. And to blow that doctor's mind that does this, he is very, very professional. Like this man helps write things. Like he's so good. He's up in Indy. So good. And he was so dumbfounded that he was trying to take notes on what I did, and I was just telling him some of the changes in my diet and working out. But I was like, the other stuff you're gonna have to write down is like Bible, prayer, focus on God. You know, like there's other things that play into this. And I'm telling you right now, when those don't add up, you can get so caught up in everything else. But you keep your eyes on Him, and He will change the numbers. And all the enemy wants to do, and all that, I'm going to go ahead and try to give you some plans for your future from your past. No. God has a plan for you, declares the Lord, to prosper you, for you to be healthy and well. You know, He's got so many plans for you. I pray that this sermon and the testimony that we gave for two different things that were very big in our lives, I hope it's a encouragement and encourages you for your steps.
Well, that doesn't mean that things aren't tough. We still have things we're facing that feel sometimes discouraging and devastating, but I will tell you one thing, just like this, because the Word of God is true, it says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And the thing about it is that if you remember, see, we don't live, God doesn't live in our reality, we're supposed to live in His. And the thing about it is when we put ourselves focused back on who He is and what He does, and that He is faithful and He's true to His word no matter what comes.
We're going to sing this a couple times, okay? And then we're going to pray and leave. But I'll tell you this, you might be wounded, but you ain't dead.
And you're not defeated.
And you're not defeated. It's okay. You got this. You got this. For years, I'm telling you, years. Well, we can sit here forever and talk about her health and what God has done in her life. And had to put feet to it also. I'm telling you right now, He's faithful. Let's go ahead and sing just for a few minutes. Let's just focus on Him. Let's get those realities lined up to who God is, and He'll take care of it. Put your feet to it.
Say, because it's you.
Because it's you hold me. Yes, it's you.